gifted mind like mine, they never ever let go, and they would be hounding me still if I hadn't taken great pains to fake my death. A bucket of blood, a lot of magic, and a masterwork of deception was a small price to pay to get them off my back. If only my demons were as easy to fool. From the other side of the tavern, old Sleazy glared at the serving girl with his one remaining eye, bald and scarred pate beading with sweat as he hefted a barrel of ruby ale into place behind the bar. She hastily collected my empty cup, favouring me with another smile before scurrying off back to the kitchen. She wasn't dissuaded by my scars, overlooking the ugliness because of my fine clothes and a pouch fat with coin. I was ostensibly a good catch, and she was still young and pretty enough to think herself destined for something more exciting than a life of drudgery in a grimy little mining town like Ironport. She wasn't to know that I was a liar and a killer, or that my pouch held mostly copper bits. She couldn't know that in Sitharis the name Edrin Walker would cause folk to slam doors and trace symbols in the air to ward off evil. I shuddered. Best avoid thinking about home, of deals, dead gods and demons, and force myself to ponder better things, safer things. I watched the bloodied sliver of wood burn in the flame of my table candle. It really wouldn't do to leave any trace of my magic here. My pursuers could track me by such things, which is why I used it so rarely. The girl hurried back with another cup of ale, a better brew than I'd paid for, before moving on to serve a table of rowdy drunken sailors, bandying rumours of missing ships and Skullgrim sea raiders pillaging villages up and down the coast. Sailors were wont to exaggerate, and their fanciful tales devolved into wild rumours of kidnapped children and blood sacrifice, nothing I hadn't heard 100 times before about the tribal savages from across the Sea of Storms. I ignored their wagging tongues and watched the girl. I wasn't about to disabuse her of any fanciful notions on my last night in town, to ruin my only chance for a little fun. With my itinerant lifestyle, it was in short supply. Sleazy turned his gimlet glare on me, and I looked away. That sour bastard's single eye held as much malice as any 10 normal men could muster. The tavern keep was not so easily fooled. He must have been pleased when a couple of overdue ships finally docked, ready to carry me away from his shitty little tavern in the morning. I was sat in a corner of the run-down shack, eponymously titled Sleazy's Tavern, swilling ale and chowing down on the special stew, trying to figure out what the slimy grey lumps of surprise meat actually were, when somebody kicked open the door and hurled in a lantern. It exploded against the wall, flaming oil showering drinkers and setting the rush floor mats ablaze. People screamed, tearing at burning clothes and hair. Wood that had soaked up untold years of spilt alcohol eagerly took light, black smoke billowing through the tavern. Coughing and spluttering, smoke stinging my eyes and burning my throat, I snatched up my pack and shoved a dirt-smeared miner out of my way as I bolted for the door. I got out a split second before the panicked and heaving mob behind me blocked the only exit to the street in a frantic attempt to claw their way out of the inferno, all at the same time. Those at the back would die choking if they were lucky, burning if not. I sensed the attack a moment before blackened steel came swinging through the smoke towards my face. I ducked, and an axe crunched through the skull of the unlucky sap behind me. A bearded Skullgrim raider in chain and furs, his shaven head tattooed with angular runes, snarled and yanked at the weapon embedded in the corpse, blocking the doorway. Head still down, I charged, ramming my shoulder into his belly. He lost grip of his weapon and stumbled, falling to one knee. I wasn't a great fighter, but even I knew that only fools gave their foes time to think. I booted his raised knee, and it crunched inwards. He fell onto all fours, and I stamped on his weapon hand, grinding down. He howled in pain as small bones popped beneath my heel. I thought he was done and tried to make my escape, but he had other ideas. He grabbed hold of my belt with his uninjured hand and hauled me closer. I tried to pull away, but the press of bodies behind me made that impossible. He launched himself forward.